A young lady named Claudine Gay, right? She was she was the Harvard president. She got hired to be Harvard president in like July of 2023. But she had been working at Harvard for years. Like she went to Harvard. She's been working at Harvard. She's just like a genius, really, right? She has a long history of being at the highest, most elite institutions since she was a kid. Elite institutions like Stanford, Princeton, Harvard, like just you name it. Even private schools as a child, like she was the one. Her mom was a nurse. Her dad was an engineer. Her family is from Haiti. Both her parents from Haiti. In Haiti, her family owns the largest concrete manufacturing facility company. So she just comes from like prestigious family and prestigious background and stuff like that, right? So if they were gonna make a black person the head of Harvard, like she to them is just like, this is the perfect one. Let's do it with her. She's checks every single box that you could possibly check. That's how it looks on paper, right? So she got the job. Then, by the way, her name is Claudine Gay. She is the cousin of author Roxane Gay. Let me show you. I have this book, Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay. You see, this book is from, got this book, like me and Shay started reading it like 2016, something like that. So that just goes to show you, like, this lady's, like, her family, they got tentacles. They got tentacles, people in places and stuff like that. And that's an intellectual family. Like, they're thinkers, and this lady's background just more than proves it, right? So pretty much she got the job. Some people didn't like it, but like I said, her background is like immaculate. So you really argue against it, right? So she got the job, and then something happens. And well, first of all, she had some controversy throughout her time there because they were saying, or they were accusing her of being too heavily supportive of like cancel culture. And like, so they were canceling speakers from coming to the university if they said things like there's only two genders or something like that. If they said that before, cancel, you can't come to Harvard. Or like if a student got found out that they had said something similar in high school, all right, cancel, you no longer enrolled here, or you won't be admitted to come to this university. We are rescinding our offer to you, stuff like that. So she was big on like cancel culture. She was getting people out of here if they didn't say stuff that was deemed respectful of everybody or inclusive, right? So then we get to the point in October where the Hamas versus Israel thing just gets crazy. It just went crazy. A lot of killing started happening from there. And I guess some anti-Israel or maybe pro-Gaza or pro-Palestine people on the Harvard campus started to, I guess, run around campus saying a bunch of what they considered anti-Semitic rhetoric, right? And some people, I guess, some people were saying, I guess, that some of the rhetoric was like in support of violence against Israel or Jewish people, right? So when Claudine Gay got to the crossroad of how do you handle this, her response was pretty much like, well, this is free speech. We don't want to condemn anybody for their views on whatever. So I'm not going to punish them, or I'm not going to handle it the way y'all think I should handle it. Like, this is just a free speech. This is protected speech. So I'm not really going to do anything to them. And I guess the Jewish community went crazy from there. So she ended up having to go to a hearing in front of Congress in December, along with a couple other presidents of universities. They had to go to hearings, and it didn't go well at all. The hearing didn't go well at all. The other two the head of universities, they ended up resigning pretty much right after that hearing. It just went so bad. And the reason the congressional hearing went so bad is because the way they were answering questions was they felt like too political and too like on the fence of, why are you not making a hard stance against anti-Semitism? Pretty much, right? It seems like you're too much. They took it like she was too much on the fence of not making a hard stance against violence against Jewish people. So it's like, well, yeah, I get it that they said this, but that's their opinion. Like, let them say what they want. Pretty much is how she was taking it when people were saying anti-Semitic stuff. Like, let them say what they want. It's free speech, like whatever.
That commitment extends even to views that many of us find objectionable, even outrageous. We do not punish or sanction people for expressing such views, but that is a far cry for endorsing them. It's in the exercise of our freedom to speak that we reveal our characters, and we reveal the character of our institution. We can issue public pronouncements declaring the rightness of our own points of view and vilify those who disagree. Or we can choose to talk and to listen with care and humility, to seek deeper understanding, and to meet one another with compassion. We can inflame an already volatile situation on our campus, or we can focus our attention where it belongs, on the unfolding tragedy thousands of miles away.
And people did not like that. So then, of course, they came out with this whole, well, hey, this lady been plagiarizing for years. Like, let's get her out of here because she's a plagiarist. So then that pressure started to build and build and build. Like, hey, she plagiarizes and stuff like that. And then eventually this week, she ended up resigning from the university's position of president. And she was president of the Harvard Corporation. Look, Harvard's whole business structure is like weird to me. So if y'all want to know more about it, go look it up. They say Harvard Corporation is the oldest corporation in the Western Hemisphere. So like, go ahead, y'all go look that up. I don't look. All right. So anyway, she resigned this week. It was a big thing in academic circles. It was a big thing politically because it comes from political views and all that type of stuff. So they're trying to make it seem like it's because of plagiarism. It really wasn't. It was because of the typical Jewish shakedown thing. You say something we didn't like, or not even that she didn't say, well, she did say stuff they didn't like, but it wasn't because of her own words. It was because the way Jewish power works is, not only should you not say anti-Semitic things, but if you are a person in power, you need to properly punish people who say anti-Semitic things. And if you don't, then we're going to hold you to the same standard that we're going to hold the person that's anti-Semitic themselves. Because now we're looking at you like you support what they said about us. So that's pretty much what happened. They was on her head. So much that Alan Dershowitz came out. Alan Dershowitz is the dude, and I talked about him sometime last year or whatever on a podcast episode. And I said, and he was one of the people, well, he was Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer, right, for a long time. So anyway, he's a Jewish man, and he speaks up for the Jewish community in his own way, right? This man is like the Umar of Jewish people, honestly, because he kind of radical a little bit. Like he be saying some wild shit sometimes, right? But he came out and said he did an interview with Forbes, and he was like, and I'll put a piece of it in here. Pretty much, Claudine Gay was never the right choice for this university. Pretty much, he's like, she should have never gotten a job. He pointed out the fact that she had punished people in the past, like while she was president and while she was, because she was dean of a college at Harvard before, not Howard. She was dean of a college at Harvard before she became president of the Harvard Corporation. So she had punished people previously for pretty much freedom of speech or freedom of expression before, like got them out of the university and made it so they couldn't come to the university because of their views on things like equality and education, or things like, sexuality, stuff like that. She had gotten people removed and stuff like that. But now when it comes to violence against Jewish people, now is free speech and everything like that. So Alan Dershowitz was never down with what she was talking about. He felt like she only got the job because of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. He just wasn't with it, and he was vocally against her having that job, and she doesn't have it now.
She was always the wrong person at the wrong time for the wrong job. When she became president of Harvard, she had been the dean of Harvard College and had been a disaster. She was kind of instrumental in what's called the safeism policy. That is, keep students safe from dangerous ideas, but don't protect them from violence. She has applied a double standard. She's presided over an administration which canceled lectures by people who believe there are two genders, canceled lectures, rescinded invitations, and acceptances to students based on what they might have said in high school to a friend. Harvard became the worst school in the United States for free speech. And suddenly, on December 7th, Claudine Gay discovered free speech in order to defend Hamas supporters who want to commit genocide against Israel. Her recent championing of the First Amendment is very questionable. She should have admitted to the Congressional Committee that under Harvard's standards, which are wrong, but under Harvard's long-term standards where microaggressions aren't permitted, of course calling for the genocide of Jews is against Harvard's rules. But she was not honest with the committee. She said instead, and I'll quote her, "We embrace a commitment to free expression." I wish it was true, but it wasn't true. She stands for the opposite of free expression. She stands for cancel culture, censorship, the diversity, equity, and inclusion monstrosity, bureaucracy, which has taken over college campuses. And so the board that appointed her initially repeated their mistake by keeping her on after she's proved her incompetence to lead Harvard. A man named Ron Sullivan was the first African-American dean, along with his wife, of Winthrop House, one of the great houses of Harvard. And he, under the Constitution, was asked to defend Harvey Weinstein, which he did for 1 month. She led the campaign to fire him because he made students feel unsafe. She said, if you're a dean, you have a pastoral responsibility to keep students safe. And she said he didn't adequately explain why he defended Harvey Weinstein, as if a lawyer has to explain why he exercises a constitutional obligation under the Sixth Amendment. So she was responsible for creating this atmosphere. Under her presidency, lectures have been canceled, admissions have been canceled, an atmosphere of intolerance has pervaded the campus. Not only that, but Harvard itself has a terrible policy. Just about a decade earlier, the great president of Harvard, Lawrence Summers, was fired by the Harvard Corporation because he said something that suggested to some that men and women may have unequal capacities in math, physics, and other subjects. That was not protected speech. But calling for the genocide of Jews is protected speech.
So I do want to say, I think her biggest mistake here was not standing on a standard, like not keeping a regular standard of how she handles the speech thing and people being offended. Because if you held these previous people to this standard of, if you say something that's offensive or like emotionally violent against other people, we have to punish you for that, then you have to do the same thing to the people on the campus who say anti-Semitic things. Not saying I agree that I'm not saying I think the people are wrong. I'm saying that as a person in power who handles some people this way, you have to go forward handling everybody that way. If not, you're going to look like you specifically chose to support anti-Jewish people. I'm not saying the lady is anti-Semitic. I'm saying that it looks like she specifically chose to support anti-Jewish people because she didn't punish those people the same way she punished people who said things about, women not being equal to men in education. She punished them. But then somebody says something about Jewish people, you don't punish them. If you weren't going to punish the people who spoke out about Jewish people, you should not have punished the previous people. So the problem is you just didn't, what they say now in the culture, you didn't stand on business. You wasn't on your square. You're flip-flopping. And flip-flopping is something that a lot of people can't defend because they didn't fire, like she didn't get fired or forced to resign for a while. It's been months since the anti-Semitic stuff happened on the campus, and it has been a full month since the congressional hearing, right? So she wasn't just forced out immediately. It was just, I think they just went over so much of what she has said in the past, and it just looks like you flip-flop too much and they can't support you. Now, had you been on one frame of mind the entire time, I think they could have got behind you a lot better. That's just my stance on it. I'm just looking at it, I'm like, why didn't they just get rid of her immediately? And I think it's because they were like I think they were debating, just going back and forth like, damn, she really didn't really do anything wrong. But it's hard to overlook her punishing people a few months ago for the same thing pretty much. So I think, I do think it's worth noting that even though they're saying like, no, she got pushed out because of plagiarism, I do think it's worth noting that the person standing in for her, his name is Alan Garber or Gerber. What's his name? Let me see. His name is Alan Garber, right? He just happens to be a Jewish man that has been working at the university for a long time. Just, you know, he just happened to be a Jewish man. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. It is funny that her background she's an expert in like political science, social science, African American, well, political and social sciences, and I guess race. So she was, she could teach on all these things, right? She was an expert on it. But she somehow didn't see this coming with the way she was kind of handling business at Harvard. So it's like sometimes people are black, but they don't understand, even though she's been here for her whole life in America, they still don't understand what the treatment of black in America really is. Because like I said, she comes from like a prestigious family. So her upbringing wasn't that of a typical what we would consider a black American. She didn't really, I don't think she fully understood it. I think she came at blackness from an intellectual standpoint, meaning she just read about black people and blackness. Not to say that she's not black. I'm saying that most of her experiences of what we say about racism and stuff like that, and what we say about systems working against us and all that, I think she read about it more than she experienced it. And I think it's evidenced by how she handled her position at Harvard. That's just my take on it. Y'all, if somebody has any more information, let me know. But I believe that she was kind of being reckless with her power, and it bit her in the backside, because I don't fully think she understood like what it meant to have that position. Or I don't fully think she understood what it meant for when we say that when we talk about the system working against us. It feels like she just probably heard about it, read about it, but didn't believe it. She thought she can just hard work her way around racism. I think that's what she thought. That's what I think. Hey, if I'm wrong, sue me. Right? But let me move on, because I do think y'all should go do some more research on it. This lady is a genius. She still works at the university. They say that I guess she'll still be getting the pay that is like $900,000 a year or something like that. So she's fine. She'll be a faculty member at the school still. Maybe she might be a little embarrassed when she's walking around campus and stuff like that, but she'll be more than fine going forward in life. She still is a well-off, wealthy woman. She won't have any issues in life. Promise she'll be fine.